Hey everyone. Let me know if you can hear me. We're going live in just about 3.5 minutes. And just let me know if you guys can hear me. Loud and clear. Awesome. All right. You had me worried for a second there. All right. We got 2 minutes and 39 seconds to go. All right. Everyone can hear me? Good. I'm not sure how much of a delay. Might be more of a delay than normal going on this week. That's weird. But that's internet for you. Alright, so if you got friends, send out a message on social media. Let them know we're going live. Just copy the link from the top, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm sending it off on Facebook and Twitter. Maybe I'll share it on LinkedIn as well. I don't want to post that though. One minute and 30 seconds, guys. Looks like the crew is coming in. "41 seconds. Woo! The excitement rises. The anticipation builds. Good to see everyone here. Yeah, that's right. Let's get some likes going before we even start. That would be awesome. "18 seconds, guys. Are you ready?" 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. By the way, every time I do this, guys, I'm always looking for where's the button. All right, let's go. And welcome, everybody. We are on Live from Lockdown. We're now episode number 59. I don't know why I keep telling you the episode number. I don't know. Maybe it's interesting. But it's pretty crazy that, wow, next week is going to be number 60. So that is something. We're just building them up, racking them up, guys. So good to see you all here. Lots of regulars in the house. So many of you are here just about every week. Some of you haven't missed a week. Some of you have just missed, maybe just one or two of these. Thank you for coming every week. As long as you guys come, then I'm going to come as well. And we'll keep doing this. So even when lockdown ends, everywhere we will go to some kind of a live stream. Or even if we just get sick of talking about lockdown, which we don't do as much these times. But anyway, if you guys are new, welcome. Glad to have you with us. This is our weekly live stream here at Photoshopcafe on YouTube. And if you're watching the replay, good to see you, replay crew. drop your comments underneath. If you're watching this live, then get in the chat, introduce yourself. We've got the friendliest group of people on the internet, and this chat is, I can constantly see it moving in the corner of my eye because we've got a great community here. So welcome to the community. For those of you who are part of the Cafe crew, and for those of you who just joined us, welcome to the Cafe crew. Great to have you with us. Now we have our flight attendant, Bruce Bicknell, is in the house. Actually, he's our moderator, so he makes sure you're all well behaved. But while he's not doing that, he's happy to take your drink orders. So get those drink orders in quickly, because this is a short flight. We'll be landing in Las Vegas in 1 hour. So anyway, guys, thank you, Bruce, for joining us. And everyone give Bruce a shout out. Not that he needs it, because I think everybody knows who he is. So, all right, guys, what we're doing this week is we're going to look at a few different things, but I figured let's start off with some retro effects, classic effects, if you want to call them that, whatever you want to call them. These actually used to just be called Photoshop effects when I started. But these days, a lot of things are moving more towards photography and photo-based kind of stuff. So some of these have been kind of forgotten. So let me just go to the screen right now, and I'll just pop you onto the desktop here. So these kind of cool, and I say to revisit these, and when I say revisit, I'm doing a disservice because a lot of people don't know these. Some people do know them and haven't seen them for years, but they have a place today. It's just, maybe they haven't been in fashion or in style for a while. So let's do that right now. Let's jump in here. We're going to start with this photo, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to do what I did for the cover there. If you guys saw this, what we've got here is a pixel stretch effect. So, all the things that used to be old are new again, and, to be honest, this kind of effect was kind of cool, maybe even in the 70s or, that time before Photoshop was even invented. So we're going to go for a cool effect here to create that. Now, all we simply do to create a pixel stretch is really simple. We just create a pixel, just a 1 or 2 pixel. I mean, if you really wanted to make it 1 pixel, you could actually go and choose the single column marquee tool, hit Control J, copies it to a new layer. So essentially what you have is 1 pixel. A little hard to see, and sometimes I go a little wider than that, but just hit Control T. Don't worry, we're going to do this slowly. I'm just showing you what the pixel effect is. We stretch it, apply it, and there we go. Now, the challenge with this, of course, with this particular image, is that we can't get a pixel all the way down where we're actually going to get color from our object because, she's at an angle, and also maybe we just want to put it behind there. So we've got some things that we want to deal with here. So, do I throw these in on purpose? Yes. We could have just used one that just had color all the way down. But I think it's more fun to look and say, hey, what can we do here that we can maximize learning? All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to cut out our object so we can start to manipulate her a little bit and get her in one line so we can get those colors. So we're going to grab our selection tool, but not any selection tool. We need to use the magic selection, which is the 4th set down, which is these ones. I call them the magic selection. I don't believe that's their name, but the magic wands there. So it used to be the magic wand. So I'm going to call these the magic selection tools or the magic selection group. So here at Photoshopcafe, we know what that is. Now, the reason I grabbed this group because anything in this group is going to enable select subject. And when we choose select subject, ping, what it does is it, you know what, I'm just going to go to the desktop so you don't have to look at me. Makes it easier maybe for you guys to, so I don't get in the way of any of these tools. What it does is it just makes a rough selection. Now, this was introduced in Photoshop 2019, 2 versions ago. And it's great because it gives us a quick selection, and it's actually not a bad selection. Anyone going back in the day, you probably know making the selection was a little bit of a pain. In fact, how we would have done it before is grab the magic wand, selected, the whole background, and then inverted it. All right, Control J or Command J will, what it will do is it'll copy our selection to a new layer. Let me hide the background just so you guys can see. There we go. That's what we got. Awesome. Now, I'm going to save this selection. So let me just Control J to make this selection, and I'm going to save it because we might use it later. So I'm going to choose Select, Save Selection. Might use it later. We're going to do it. And I'm just going to choose the default. That's fine. Alright, so Control D will turn this off. What I want to do now is I want to make this in a straight line so we can get all the colors. So we can go all the way down, and now I do need to bring this up because I'm saying we're going to go all the way down. Need to show you guys. By the way, if you see anything new, let me know if you learn anything new. Control T is free transform. You guys must know that by now because I use it all the time. And we're going to right click and we're going to use warp. Now what we want to do is make her look like something off The Conjuring or something. Conjuring? You know, a horror movie. We just want to essentially make her go all the way down here so we can get our nice pixel. Now I want to make sure we can get it at the bottom as well. So I'm just going to split this by holding the Alt or the Option key, and this will enable me to split this. And it's just going to enable me just to drag that all the way down. I don't know, maybe that way. Just so we can get that color working. Let's split it again. And just, you know, getting that in there. I think it's going to work. All right. So now what we want to do is we just hide the background so you can see. We're looking to be able to... She looks like she's underwater. Let's be kind. All right. So what we're doing is we want to create a selection. And you know what? This is going to work. See, what we're trying to do here, guys, is we want to make sure we have color all the way. But I want to make sure we go all the way up where there's some hair there. So we might have to warp this a little bit more. So what we're going to do is let's just use the filter, Liquify, and I just want to move that bottom leg, like this leg here. It's funny. I'm laughing at myself because I'm thinking of bottom leg. Who has a bottom leg and a top leg? Does anyone have a bottom leg and a top leg? All right, so we're going to drag that over there. Maybe that'll work. Click OK. All right. So let's grab this, and now we're going to do this. You could use a single pixel as I showed you guys before. I like to just go this way because it gives me a few pixels, and I just think it might be more interesting. All right, so what I'm doing is just making sure we've got some pixels all the way there. Control J. We'll copy that to a new layer, and we can get rid of that now. And so we've created that line. Now we want to create our stretch. Looks like I could have grabbed a little bit of that red from down there. So, you know, if you missed it, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. Just grab that and we can just paint it. I'm being maybe a little bit too caring about it right now because it's really doesn't have to be precise. So all I'm doing is making sure we got some color that we're going to stretch. Control T. Now, what I want to do is just drag it. If you go like this, the whole thing is going to stretch and it's going to be weird. So what we want to do is turn off the chain link, and that is going to unconstrain that, and now I can drag this out. Great. Now don't worry if it doesn't show the whole way, because when we actually apply this, it will. So what we're doing is we're stretching it out left and right, hit enter, and okay, it made a liar out of me. That's weird. Now let me undo that. And let's zoom out, Control T, and let's just go in, and I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and drag this out. So that's interesting. All right, so if that happens, don't worry about it, just stretch it out more. Just make sure it's long enough. Okay, that's gonna work. And hit enter, and it applies it. There's something weird going on, like there's some kind of a feather. I think I might have had, let me go back here. I think by applying that brush, it created a feather selection, which messed it up. Yeah, it did. All right, so don't do that. Like I brushed it at the bottom, that's what caused that problem. All right, so just hit enter, there we go. Now it's acting the way it should. And if you do brush it at the bottom like I did to try and match that shoe, what you want to do is use a hard edge brush, not a soft edge brush, because that messes it up. Always go with the plan demo is what they say, and don't go from the script, which is what I did. All right, so what I want to do is I want to cut her out, and then I want to just kind of use this to mask it so it just comes out behind her, like a streak kind of thing. All right, so what I can do is choose there, and let's go back to our selection, and we're going to load selection, because remember we saved it earlier on, and that gives us a selection. Now, of course, we could have just used the magic selection tools and use select subject, and it would get us the same way. And if you're just joining us, welcome guys. We are doing classic effects here in Photoshop. We've got more effects coming, so the replay will be on live right after this. And if you're liking it so far, hit that like button. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to copy that to a new layer. And I don't necessarily have to do it, but it's just by doing that, it enables me to just pop that on top and then put that underneath. So it's just kind of like one way of doing this effect. All right, so why don't we Control-click, and that's going to load that selection. Command-Shift-I to inverse that selection. So now we've selected everything but our model here. And then we're going to choose our layer. Now what I want to do is I want to apply a layer mask. Now, I made a mistake. I didn't really make a mistake. I did this on purpose. Have you guys ever done that when you've got a selection and now you want to apply a mask, but you've already got a selection active? I'll show you the problem with that is when I apply that mask, it's gonna cut it out. See that? So the other option is if I hold down the Alt or the Option key when I create it, it's gonna cut it out the other way. So you can't create a mask without that selection affecting the mask. But it turns out you can. If you go up under Select, and then I go to apply the mask, actually under Select, I mean Layer. We go to apply the mask, and so we choose Layer Mask, and if we choose Reveal All, look at that, I can apply a layer mask without affecting the contents of that layer. So that means that I don't have to undo it, make the mask and then make the selection again. However, let me undo this. What if I could do this without having to go into the menu? Because how many times do you guys had to do this? Let me know in the comments, because I know I've done this, I don't know how many times, right? Make this selection, I want to do the mask, oh no. So you can turn it off, make that, or go up in the menu there, reselect, or just hold down the Control key on Windows, Command on Mac, create a layer mask, and now we have a layer mask which ignores the selection. Oh, wonderful. All right. So now let's grab a black brush and start painting on that mask. All right, hit the D key. And if you liked that tip and you found it useful, and some of you just come here for the tips, let me know in the comments if you come here for the tips or you come here for the tutorials, or if you come here just to hang out, or you come here for Fix My Photo. Let me know. I'm curious. What brings you here? I just stumbled across it. The button was red and I hit it. All right, so we're going to get rid of this by doing the mask. And by the way, if you like that tip, do me one more favor. Smash the like button. Helps us with the algorithm on YouTube. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to select that mask. And for some reason, that mask is not clicking. Okay, so just to let you guys know, I'm just going to turn off that selection, see if I can select the mask. No, we've got a problem here. All right, so just so you guys know, I just updated to... Oh, this is really interesting. All right, so I updated Photoshop to the new... not Photoshop. I updated my operating system to Big Sur, and I'm noticing a problem already. This is not letting me select my layer mask. That's really interesting. We'll get around it, don't worry. So I updated this yesterday thinking, okay, there's no problems with this. Anyone else have this problem on Big Sur? Now I'm trying to select that mask and work off the mask. It's not letting me. Interesting. What if we choose that brush? Okay, so this is definitely a weird bug. All right, that's fine. We'll get around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the quick mask. And then we're just going to grab the select. And then we're going to load our selection once again. And... we're going to get around this. Select, load selection. And there we go. No. We've got our save selection. Yeah, well, I'm just going to control click, load that selection. Okay, let's do the quick mask if we can do it on this layer. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do the carnal sin, you know, which I'm just going to do right now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to do this, guys. I am going to be using the eraser tool. Oh my gosh. Can you believe I'm going to be using the eraser tool? Unless I created a vector mask. We'll figure this out. Okay, so you're going to be masking this out. I am currently using the eraser tool because it won't let me select a mask on that new version of the Mac OS. Thank you, Apple. And I'm looking for the comments. Anyone else had that issue? Staying on 2020 Photoshop. You know, I do have the earlier version of Photoshop, and I could load that in and just see if that makes a difference. Okay, so Control D will turn off that selection, and let's put our layer on top. Okay, so there we go. We've got that effect. So why don't we just do that? I'm just going to do this really quick. I just want to see if this was something weird that I did. Control J, create a layer mask. Let me grab my layers panel. I hate upgrading my operating system, by the way, guys. I only did that because, okay, so if I go there, okay, I can select the mask now. For some reason, it won't let me select the mask there. That's weird. But it'll let me select the new mask. Okay, so maybe that did it create a vector mask? No. So weird. All right. So anyway, the layer mask works. Just don't do it with the control key because apparently there's a bug on this new version of... I don't necessarily think it's Photoshop as much as it is the Big Sur. All right, fine. Now we know that. Moving on. Okay, pop dots. You guys know pop dots. You see them on comic books. You see them on all those kind of different things. Okay, Big Sur 11.3, no issues, but don't have 11.4 yet. Yeah, so maybe there's something on the 11.4. We'll figure it out. Moving right along. Okay, so I want to do a pop dots effect. Control J, and that's where, you know, we create these little circles, you know, so it looks like screen kind of printing. Let me show you how to do that. So we set the foreground background colors to black and white, hit the Q for quick mask. Then with the quick mask, we're going to grab a gradient, and I'm going to apply the gradient across here because I want it to kind of work across this transition here. So now I want to apply a filter to the quick mask because, as you know, you can't apply a filter to a selection. So if you use a quick mask, we can get around that. All right, so let's choose filters. And under the filters, we're going to choose filter gallery. And let's see what we've got here. We're going to pop all of these open. In case you guys didn't know, all these filters are here. You can stack them, by the way. You can have more than one filter. Right now we've got texturizer. We're going to change that to halftone pattern. Awesome. So we have a dot, a line, or a circle. So we're going to use a dot. And we're going to increase the size of this dot. Let's make it nice and big. We're not seeing much on our preview here. But if we go over here, you can start to see. Let me change this to fit in view. There we go. And watch the size. If we take the size down, you're not really going to see anything. If we take the size up, Photomaker eraser tool. Just you wait and try and get into heaven. I'll remember. That's hilarious. All right, so we're going to increase the dot size. Look at this. So we can change the contrast. And this gives us those effects. All right, so we're going to click OK. Hit the Q key to go back to selection. And now we can apply our layer mask. If you don't like the way it's going, like it's going the wrong way, select that mask, Control I. We can inverse it and then create a new layer. So it looks like the layer mask is working fine just if you create that layer mask while holding down the Control key. You can't select it. Look at that. I discovered that bug. Okay, I'm going to log that as a bug with Adobe. That's interesting. All right, so Control J. And we are going to fill it with white, and there we go. There we get our pop dots. And of course, you could change this to any color you wanted. You could use a gradient. Let me show you how to use a gradient. Let's use the window, and then we're going to open up our gradients panel. So let's go down to gradients. And I'll be honest with you right now, I'm not super loving Big Sur. I'm not hating it, but I've had it on just for a little bit of time here in case people were wondering how the upgrade process went. Let's drag this gradient in there and see how we can do that. We can change the color of it, of course, just by choosing different gradients. Yeah, I'm not like super thrilled about the way the fonts look on here either. They look kind of weird, especially at high resolution. But so far, though, as far as like stability has been a lot better. So we're going to see, because I was having issues with like Premiere Pro and some other just, stupid video issues and things like that. And we'll see if those go away. So we can apply a gradient or a solid color behind here, and just, if you want to kind of do something fun with the pop dot kind of effect, you can do that. You could even go in and put like, inner shadow. Let's do an inner shadow. That'd be kind of interesting. See if that does anything. So it kind of looks like we're embossing it in here. Let's do the distance. So we're kind of cutting into it. See that? It's a kind of interesting effect. The other way we could do, of course, is we could just do a drop shadow in here if we wanted. Apply the opacity. Let's take that size way, way down. Bring it down, guys. Give a little size there. And so you can see you could put like little drop shadows. There's all kinds of extra things you could do if you wanted to, kind of enhance that effect. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on here. Although I don't really like that in her face. So if you don't like that in her face, select the mask. And remember what I taught you guys as far as black and white, right? So if you are in a room and you turn on the light, it's white, you can see things. If you turn off the light, it goes black and you can't see anything. So if we want to show parts of this layer that are hidden, which would be these little dots, we select the mask, grab a brush, and then we're going to paint with white because we want to paint with light. So in Photoshop, that's what happens. White is light. And because we're actually painting with light rather than pigments. So you could, go in and fine-tune this effect like I'm doing right now. You could use the selection that we made, or just make a selection. In this case, I'm not going to bother, because you don't have to be precise. And we're just going to paint this in. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. And then we're creating some kind of a cool, kind of a comic book pop dots effect. You could put text or things or another photo in here. Actually, why don't we put another photo in there? That'd be fun. So let's go in here and just grab a random photo just so we can see. Yeah, underwater, that's going to make a lot of sense. Why don't we use this one? I'm just going to use the unlicensed. Actually, you know what? Don't you spin at me. Let's open this one just because it's already licensed. And we're just going to drag it in behind. Grab the layer that we're working on. Back to our layers panel, drag it underneath. And look at that. Interesting. So, you can do all kinds of things just to have fun. Sliding that up. Drop the opacity. I don't know. Just another way of kind of creating a transition between the edges, between two photos, if you want to use it that way. But what if these dots are not big enough? Well, you can unlink this and you can go into the mask, hit Control T, and now we're just going to be working on the mask because it's unlinked. And let me hold the Shift key. So I'm going to disproportionately do this. And there we go. You can make those effects bigger or smaller just by scaling the mask. So that's the nice thing about working with layer masks. It gives you a lot of options of different things you can do. All right, so let's open another photo. Where's that one that we got there? Let's just open that one again. This will work. I want to show you another thing really quick. And then we're going to move on So let's have a look here. And if you guys are liking any of these, do me a favor, smash that like button, or just tap it gently if you like. All right, so we're moving on here. So what I want to do now is we're going to create another effect, and we could use the same filter to do it, or we could do it a different way. So I'm just going to hit Control J and copy that layer, and we want to create TV scan lines. So we could choose the filter, and let's go back into the filter gallery. Now, one way you can do this, of course, is you can do this using patterns. And sometimes I do it that way, but sometimes you might just want to do it quicker. So let's see if we can do it using these. If we go under Sketch, Halftone Pattern, and we are in the right effect, but we don't want to use dot, we want to use lines. See how we can create those lines? Drop that contrast down, and then it can affect everything. Make the lines thinner, thicker, so you get those TV scan lines. Click OK. Boom. And then we just change the overlay blending mode to, so different blending mode. We could go into screen. We could go multiply if you wanted to darken that. Let's make it lighter. Let's go to screen. I kind of like that. Drop the opacity down and just kind of dial it in a little bit. See that? So now we can kind of apply them. Another way you could do this is if we change the blend mode here to luminosity. So the color is not going to change, only the luminance. And we could drop the opacity down here this way too. So that's another way of doing this same kind of an effect. All right, so there's some kind of effects. Let me just show you one more, how to do it with the pattern, because some of you might want to know how to do that. And let me just open up another image that we can use as an example. I'm going to use this one here. This will be fun. All right, so what we're going to do is choose File, New. So we're going to create a new document. And let's do it 20 pixels by 20 pixels. Now you can change the size of these, do them whatever you want. Resolution doesn't really matter as long as we've got 20 pixels by 20 pixels. You could do, once again, if you want to make it thinner, do 10 by 10. And what we want to do is just fill half of this with black, half of it with white. Now this will snap because we've got individual pixels nice and close. We want to be in the middle. And then just fill it with black. So now you can see those pixels. So how do we fill it with black? Well, black is the foreground color. Option delete, and that would be Option backspace on Windows, will fill with the foreground color. Great. Select the whole thing, and now we want to turn this into a reusable pattern. Now this will work for all kinds of patterns and textures. So we're going to use the edit, and then we're going to define pattern, and we'll call this a 20px scanline. Done. Beautiful. All right, so let's go back to this photo, and now we want to create our effect. Now we don't want to do it directly onto the photo because that's just amateur hour, and it's destructive. We don't want to be destructive, so we want to open up the patterns. And by the way, you can fill it if you hit Shift backspace. You just go in here and then choose pattern for the fill, and then you can grab it this way if you want to fill it. But in this case, we're just going to do it from the patterns panel. And the reason I show this, if you're using a version of Photoshop older than 2019, actually older than 2020, I believe, you're going to have to use that fill, and then so just duplicate the layer and then just fill it with the pattern. If you're using the newer version, you have the patterns panel, and then we can drag this pattern on top. Notice we get it on a new layer. This gives us more options. We can double click, brings up the pattern fill, and now we can change the scale, make it bigger if we want. You can make it smaller too, of course. And now we can change the blending mode in here. Overlay will hide 50% gray, just gives you the black. These ones will lighten it, and these ones will darken it. So depending on what kind of an effect you want, we could go through the different blending modes. I'm going to use screen, and I'm just going to drop the opacity. And you can see, you can use this way to get those kind of lines. And I'm just using the lines just so you know that you could use all kinds of things. If you want to go the other way, double click. Let's change the angle to 90. And now we go straight up and down. If you wanted to do a 45-degree angle, just hit 45. And then we go this way. Remember when this was all the rage? The diagonal patterns? They were so hard to create back in the day. Now they're just very, very simple. Just using those types of effects. All right, guys. So I've just kind of showed you a couple of effects here. Showing you. I think it's time for our new segment, which I haven't named yet, and we haven't created a screen for it because we don't have a name for it yet. But the submit your thing, that's what we're calling it, submit your thing. And let's have a look at some of the pieces that you guys have submitted this week to Photoshopcafe. Now, if you want to submit these to our Facebook group, I'm going to give you the link in here right now. And by the way, Bruce, I sent you links in an email. So there's the link. If you go to that link, that's our Facebook group. So it's a private group for the Cafe crew on Facebook. And if you guys go in there, and I see Bruce has got the link, and join up. Submit your photos. So there's two things. There's Fix My Photo where you submit photos for me to look at, but this is where you want to show your photos. So maybe the other one should be Fix My Photo and this could be Show My Photo. But it doesn't have to be a photo. It can be a composite, it could be a painting, anything you've done inside of Photoshop or Lightroom. If you post it in there, each week I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick my favorites from that week. And here they are. So let's start. So with the first one here, and there we go. This is from MSMM Rabbit M. Rabita M. If you're in the house, let us know. And I think this is a great idea for a composite with an apple was cut out and looks good. Now, if you're wondering, Fix My Photo, hold on. It's coming. We're coming very soon with Fix My Photo. That's actually going to be the next segment. All right. So maybe we'll go this way and we can see them easier. So I'm just in Bridge here. All right. So let's have a look at another one. Let me drag this across. The next one we want to look at is from Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson shot this with his drone, and I think this is beautiful. I love what's happening here with the clouds, with the sky. Gorgeous shot. Beautiful. At the right place at the right time. I suggested compositing corner. I like that one, David Holstock. Great idea. But it's not just compositing. You know, it could be other things. All right, so let's have a look. Here's another one that was submitted by Boba. And this is beautiful because this reminds me, this is, the Birth of Venice. If you guys are familiar with the Botticelli painting, I can see this is his take of it, which is really cool. Great concept, nicely executed. So that's Boba. Thank you for submitting. Then we've got another one from Rabita. And I like the concept of this. This is cool. We've got and of course I like guitars, and Bruce likes guitars as well. If you're in the house, say hello. By the way, if I show any of your work and you're here, say hello, which would be awesome for you guys to be posting so we can see some of your work. Looking at you regulars. All right, so this is cool. So we've got a beach, we've got the ocean, and a guitar. I could hear a little bit of Santana or something playing right now. Great concept here. Nice work. One of the things I would like to see, though, is on this particular one, the selections could be a little crisper, a little cleaner. They're a little blurred, so which works well for blending on the top. But when you were cutting out the guitar, I would have gone for a crisper edge. Just, suggestion there. All right, moving on. What have we got? What else have we got here? James Chaney. James Chaney. I love this shot of this gorilla baboon. Just the mood of this is beautiful. The coloring really nicely shot and gorgeous edit. Well done. Congratulations. Oh, look, there's Orcapest was commenting on that. We can see her right there. All right, so let's have a look at the next one. And this is from Diane Ekberg Arnold. She did a blood lunar eclipse from the other night. I guess it was about a week ago when we had this eclipse. And she did this sequence. Nicely done. Looks great. Adds to it, to do that sequence. And she did mention in the message that she got this from a tutorial that I did. Well, obviously she shot these photographs herself, but I did a tutorial on a blood moon eclipse, so you guys can find that if you're looking for it. Then another one, and Daryl here's some Jimmy Buffett rather than some Santana. Hey, whatever you like to sit in the sun and sip and listen to, Jimmy Buffett works for me too. All right, and of course Margaritaville, right? All right, so here we go. This is from Gail Edwards. Gail submits some stuff there all the time, which is really great. A lot of what she uses is Poser to create the characters, and then she does her edit. I love this. It's a cool mood. And the last one we're going to show here is Regina Photography. Are you in the house? If you are here, say hello. I'm here. And this is from the Badlands in South Dakota. This makes me want to go to the Badlands because I love the color here. This is in the texture. This is so cool. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. Let us know. I want to go now. So now it's time to say goodbye. No, it's not. Actually, it's time for Fix My Photo. And welcome to Fix My Photo. This is the segment where we take the photos that you guys have submitted and then I'm going to work on them. So to submit your photo, go to fixmyphoto.net, upload your photo. I prefer a RAW file if you've got it. If not, give us the best that you've got. Put your name in the file name so I know who submitted it and we can give you the credit. And also submit no more than 3 per week. So each week we're going to jump in here and look at whatever. Sometimes we do 1, sometimes we'll do 10, just whatever we have time for. So thank you for those who submitted your photos, and let's see what we've got to work on this week. So let's go to the desktop. And so this is not the same, by the way, guys. If you're submitting the photos for the gallery, whatever that is, go to the Facebook group. Bruce has got the link. And if you're doing Fix My Photo, Bruce just posted that link right now, Fix My Photo. So that'll be awesome. So Photomaker's saying that the colors in the Badlands vary throughout the day. So hop out in a car, take a shot, then leave kind of place. All right, so you can do that. Or zoom around and come back later, right? And see if you don't like the light, be back in 10 minutes. I don't know. Sounds good. All right, so let's open up Bridge one more time. Actually, we're not doing Bridge. We're doing Lightroom Classic. Here we go. And here we are in Fix My Photo. So, looks like we got some interesting submissions this week. This one here, I don't know we can do a lot with this. If you look in a histogram and this is blowing out, and you have a JPEG, you're tough out of luck. I can recover maybe some of those shadows, but those highlights, this is all you can do. A lot of that is just going to be lost. If you don't get those pixels on that sensor, you're not going to be able to recover what's not there. But let's see what we can do with this. Jay Bailey, thank you, Jeff Bailey, for submitting this. So if we recover the highlights, we can say, okay, there's a little bit there. Now, see how this starts to fall apart? That's because it's beyond the dynamic range of what's available. And we can open the shadows all the way up. And maybe we can bring the exposure down a little bit. So if we were looking at this before and after, okay, so we're recovering something. It's definitely not perfect, and it's not going to be perfect because we just don't have anything there to work with. So what I would do in a situation like this, because see how it's going to start to look really just bad. The colors are going to get lost. We could play around trying to recover them, but honestly, if we're blowing that out in a situation like this, I'll switch it to a black and white. I would go down to some noise reduction. So what we're going to do is get the best we can out of this photo. Let me make sure I am sharing my desktop, which I am, because every time I go in here, I'm waiting for Bruce. Share your desktop. All right. So in a situation like this, let's do a little bit of noise reduction. See how we can start to smoothen out some of that so it's not looking quite so bad. And then I would go to an effect here and apply a little bit of grain. So we can apply in some film grain. And so essentially, what we're trying to do is just say, this is the best we can do with what we have. And maybe punch up the texture just a tad, no clarity, maybe a little bit. And let's see what we can do. Yeah, so that's probably about as good as you're going to get it. But, if we look at the before and the after, we've done a little bit of stylization to kind of bring that back. However, had we had the raw file, or you'd shot this in RAW, there's a good chance you would have had a little bit more dynamic range, and you might not have lost so much. Because see, when you start to lose the pixels, and all you're doing is just having a white background, which is what shows through, at that point there, we just have to cover it up using other things. So we're kind of saving that photo, probably more than, restoring it. So let's have a look at the next level. Here we've got Walid Salah. All right, so this one here looks like we've got a little bit of a problem here because our background is, the focus is out, but we can do a little bit with this. Looks like we've got a little bit more dynamic range because I'm looking at this. See how the histogram is not broken? So we can recover a little bit. So this is kind of moving on from the next step. So why don't we start with the exposure? And what I'm doing is I'm looking at this histogram. I know I can move the exposure over because I've got all this area in the highlights that's not being used. So we can pull that over. All right, so now we're starting to deal with some new problems, but that's okay. So we're seeing a little bit more of the issues. Now we're seeing more of our person here. Let's fix our dynamic range first. So let's go on our highlights, pull that back a little bit so we're not blowing it out. Let's open up our shadows just a little bit. All right, great. Now what I'm starting to see here is a lot of color noise. See how we look into we've got the noise is just the grain, the lines going through there. But then we've also got color noise because the colors are not consistent. So let's go down to our noise reduction one more time. And now when we're down in our noise reduction, what we want to do is work on the color noise. Now, I know I'm doing this in Lightroom. If you were in Camera Raw, it would be exactly the same as Lightroom, same settings. So we're just going to do it here since we're in there. And what I want to do is I want to reduce the color noise. So watch the colors here. In fact, why don't we zoom in? Let's zoom this into 200% so you guys can see it easier. See all that weird speckles and, we've got purples and blues. So we want to even that out. So don't touch the luminance, just do the color. And just move it until those colors are now evened out. Awesome. Now we can do a little bit of luminance and smoothen that out a little bit. Now the reason I say to do the color first is you can overdo that luminance noise reduction and soften the photo too much, trying to get rid of that color noise. So now we've got rid of the color noise. We're looking a lot better. Let's do a back before, after. We're definitely getting there. Now let's move up and see what else we can do. So I'm looking at color temperature here in the skin tones. Maybe it's a little warm. We could take it to the left to reduce that warmth. Or we could grab this eyedropper and say, hey, maybe this shirt was supposed to be white. If that was the case, why don't we pop on that area here, and that's going to restore the color. Let's go into the shadow area. All right. So just assuming maybe it was supposed to be, but I'm going to warm that up just a little bit because I feel like it's too much. Now we're going to push up the vibrance because we were losing color before. And I'm just going to push this even a little bit more warm in there. Okay, so let's see what we can do now with the blacks. Let's push these blacks in. Push some shadows back. Let's push some whites. Now, obviously, we're not going to get this perfect. Let's take the contrast back a little bit because this is a low resolution image. Let me go to 100% here. Probably shot on a phone. But if we look at the before and we look at the after, I think it's definitely looking a lot better. Now, one of the other things you can do now that we've got all of this going is just hit the auto tone, and sometimes that can look better too. Before, after. If you don't like the auto tone, we can just go back and just work our way back there, and we just go under history. And let's just take that back before the auto setting. Maybe that looks a little better. It's up to you. All right, so let's go to the library. So let's have a look. This one here is something, we'll approach at a different time, because this is a whole different animal of restoration and repair, which I'll be honest, I'm not a specialist in that. So I haven't done a ton of it. But let's just move on to one that has the, that 80s look of color. Bad photo for Colin. Thank you, Jason Ritter, for submitting this. And I see this a lot, when you scan a slide, not necessarily a slide or a negative, because you'll probably get better results, but you scan a print and then you bring it in, and this is what you get a lot. I don't know if that's what you did. Let me have a look under the settings here. Let's look under the metadata. I'm going to guess you scanned. Are you here, Jason Ritter? Let us know if you're here. That seems like probably what happened. Oh, now we've got these little hickeys here. You can see that's what they call these doohickeys. They're actually called hickeys. And yeah, I'm going to guess that's what happened. All right, so let's see. This is, once again, we're not going to get this perfect because, we're just going to make it look better. So we're going to grab our white balance tool, and you're looking for an area that's white or neutral gray. So we want to get rid of the color cast. So what if we go into his shirt here? It's not bad. We could also try other areas in shadow. That's not good. And just start looking at areas that would be white or gray. What about the tire? No. So you just want to kind of go over some different areas of the photo until we get something that's looking a little better. There's before and after. I think the after's looking better. We can play around with that white balance. I don't think there's a lot we're going to do with that. And if we move that more into the greens, we're not going to get a lot there. Okay, that's a good start. So why don't we go down? We're going to reduce our contrast. We want to recover our highlights a little bit. We want to recover our shadows. And now we want to give it some contrast. So let's increase those whites just until that histogram is touching the end. Now, same thing with the blacks. Watch that histogram. Move it to the left. And if you hold down the Alt or the Option key, you can actually see where that clipping's starting to happen. So let's take it right to there. Do the same thing with the whites. All right, so we've added some contrast. So there we were before, after. We've still got some funny things going on here with the color. Let me see what happens if I hit the auto tone. I'm just kind of curious. It's not bad. Let's push that black in a little bit more. Let's push the whites in a little bit more. And what I want to do is open this in Photoshop. So we're going to edit in Photoshop. So I open it as a smart object. Why not? I see you later, Richard. Thanks for joining us. All right, so here we are, and we've got this photo. So let's see what else we can do. One of the things I love to do in a photo like this is Control J. And I'm going to change the blend mode of this to overlay. And then under the overlay blending mode, we're going to choose filter, and we're going to use other, and we're going to choose high pass. And this enables us to get some, selective sharpening going on in here. So that's one way to kind of sharpen it a little bit. We've got more work to do here. Let me double click, and we're going to take this back into Camera Raw. Now, if you want to get rid of these hickeys, what you want to do is just grab this little healing brush tool. And then you can just kind of tap on those to get rid of them. And see what we're doing, we're just getting rid of those. Boom, boom, boom. All right, great. And now we're just going to click OK to apply it. Now, I want to do something here with the color. So why don't we go in and we're going to go under our adjustment layers. And let's see what happens if we apply a... Let's do a couple of things to this. Let's do a channel mixer. And we could turn this chromatic, monochrom, and we could turn it into black and white. So what have we got here in the reds? Let's see what we've got in the greens. It's hard to work from a scan of film because there's just not a lot of dynamic range or depth to the photo. So sometimes, just converting this to a black and white is going to work. But watch what we do here. So if we take this channel mixer and we want to maintain the colors, we can change this now and we could go into a luminance mode. And see what we're doing? By doing that, we're boosting the tones a little bit and allowing that color to show through. I'm going to double click and see if there's anything we can do with this color. I think we're going to be hard pressed to get this color good. Let's punch up this vibrance. Let's take the saturation down. And let's see what we can do here. Give it a little clarity. Yeah, to get rid of this 80s style, because this is the color of the film, it's very hard to get rid of that. So I don't know we're going to get that perfect. But this is, one of the things I would do, or maybe just go to the normal blend mode and put that sharpening filter back on. And now we're getting something a little bit better. Nice and crisp. And of course, if you do want that color, let me Alt or Option, put that on the top. We can put this into color blend mode and maybe just pull that color back a little bit. So, that's another option. So lots of things we could do there. Or we could go for a whole stylized thing. Let's go into develop and we're going to look at some of another way to do this would be to go in and use some of these presets on here. So, we've got some presets that I've created, and sometimes you can just apply a preset, get something that looks cool, and maybe just go for a stylized look. Let's go for some of the creative ones, and see these are the different creative ones that come with Lightroom and also with Camera Raw. That can work. Or black and white options. There's different ways of doing the black and whites, and the other one is we go into profiles. We can click on the color profiles here. I'm just giving you guys some options here. And we could go down some of these, and maybe go for a different kind of a look. So we're still going to have this color cast, but maybe we can get something that looks more, interesting. So it looks more intentional maybe. So this is another way you can kind of hide that issue just by kind of applying that kind of a color contrast there. And we can see before and after. I like that. All right, moving on. What else we got here, guys? We've got these. These are beautiful. Kathy? Are you here, Kathy? Oh, yes, Jason. Thank you for that. I can definitely send that to you for the Father's Day. And I'll work on it a little bit, too. And I'll send that to you. Do me a favor. If you guys want me to send that, what I would love you to do is go to Photoshopcafe.com. You'll see a contact. Just send me a message with your email address, and I'll be happy to send it to you rather than putting your email address here publicly. So that would be awesome. And then, yeah, I'll email that to you. Okay, let's look at this one here. I feel like this is nice. I'm liking both of these. Kathy, are you here? I don't see that Kathy's here, but here's 3 of these. These are beautiful. These are looking good, but I think maybe just a little bit green. I mean, the green is good, but I'm wondering if that's too much green. Yeah, see, if I take that a little bit to the right in the greens, we can kind of do that, warm that up a little bit. There we go. And I'm kind of liking that. So let me open this. And let's see what we can do. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Glad you're here. So let's open this with the Lightroom adjustments. Where did you shoot this, Kathy, by the way? Beautiful photograph. Lovely location. And David Holstock. I wonder if the neutralize function and match color would be a good starting point. Good suggestion, Let's do that right now. And you're right. Sometimes that works really well. Let me do that quickly before we go back. Let's go in there and grab this. Let me edit this in Photoshop. That's a great idea. And we choose the image adjustments, match color, and neutralize. That might actually work really well. Let's see. Neutralize, boom. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. And we'll fade that. Still needs a boost, so let's try the color intensity. Too much. And see, the problem when you get this scanned print is it just doesn't apply the color, you know, the way I would like it to. But I think it's definitely better than neutralize. That's a good starting point. You're right. Maybe Control J. Let's just keep doing one more thing now. We're in here. Let's do the overlay blending mode. And what I want to do is I want to get the color from this. Control Shift E. So what I did is I just created a composite layer on top. And then if we go in here and then we just choose a color blend mode, we can boost that color. There we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. And let's adjust that opacity a little bit. That would work. And then to do the black and white, let's go in here and we're going to do black and white. We can apply a black and white adjustment layer, but we're going to change the blend mode of this to luminosity. So we're just applying the luminance. And let's see what we can do here. Let's get the color. Let's go in here. Let's get the greens. Cyans. All right, so I think this is giving a better result. There we go. Magentas. Before and after. Yeah, I think that's looking a lot better. I like that. All right, don't worry if you're late, Sebastian. The replay will be live later. Maybe the saturation's a little high on there, so we can just take this layer, the color layer, bring it down just a little bit. All right, so there's another option. All right, so let's go back to Kathy's photo. And if you can't find it, just go under Window. And here's Kathy's photo here. I love this. Beautiful photo. I want to do some dodging and burning on this, just for fun. So hold down the Alt or the Option key, create a new layer. DB for dodge and burn. Let's change it into overlay blending mode. And I'm going to just add some contrast here by applying some shadow. So Shift 1 will drop that flow down to 10%. And Shift 2 will do 20%, etc. All right, so I just want to add a little contrast by painting in some shadow here. So let's assume the light's coming from this direction, which it is. What is it? Actually, let's have a look. Where is the light coming from? Because we're under some shade here, so we're not seeing a lot of direct light. Okay, so we've got light over here. Yep, looks like the light is coming from the left-hand side because I can see shadow here on the rocks. So you just got to find an area that's in direct light so you can see what direction the light is coming from. All right, great. So let's paint some shadow in here. We're going to increase our contrast a little bit. I'm going to just give us some transfer pen pressure so I can go super light on some of these areas because I want to just darken it just a little bit, but not much. And we're going to shape this by painting in some shadows here. There we go. Let's do the same over here. Just giving it a little bit of shape. And so we're going to be adding some nice contrast to this. And as always, when I do this, it's going to look really awesome when we add the highlights. So it's just going to make it look like we've got a little bit more kind of sun and light coming through. So I'm doing the shadows on those areas here. Maybe a little shadow up here just to kind of vignette it a little bit on the background. There we go. I'm going to keep that foreground a little bit lighter, but maybe just the edge. There we go. And we're just adding that in quickly here. I'm just going to darken it down so it doesn't take attention because this is the edge of the photo and you don't necessarily want the eye to be drawn out of the frame. All right, so we're going to go here now. Let's add a little light. So I'm painting with white and we'll get a little sunlight on here. There we go. And if this is too much, which it is, we'll drop the opacity in a little bit. So we've got a little light hitting the top part of here. So we'll adjust this at the end. But I'm just trying to add some little bit of dynamics into this. Maybe a little bit of light up here because I like this canopy part and it's drawing the eye into the shot. So let's lighten up these parts, because the eye is drawn to light. Just ask Gollum. Don't follow the lights. All right, here we go. If you guys didn't get that, Lord of the Rings reference. And did Kathy say where she shot this? Let's have a look. Connecticut. All right, wonderful. So this was in Connecticut. See you later, Bruce. Bruce has got to go. And we'll be, let's go here. We'll be wrapping up this pretty soon. So even if the shadows are coming, we're just going to change the lighting direction. We want to give some dimension to this. Let's pop it over here. Pop it in there. Let's get a little bit more in here. I'm just trying to draw the eye into the photo. So this is working not just to add dimension, but also to change the area of interest in the photo, just to lead the eye in. And I want to make that brighter. All right, so let's see what we've done here. So if we turn this, you're going to notice a big difference now when I turn this off. There's before, there's after. Notice it's definitely changing the emphasis. And if it's too much, just take the, the layer opacity down to maybe 50%. Before, after. You can see we've got a little bit of depth on there without going too far. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining us this week. It was a lot of fun. So don't forget to submit your photos for Fix My Photo next week. Don't forget to submit your images to our Facebook group. So I can look into that Facebook group and pick our favorites, and we'll feature those next week. And we're going to have some fun things. So right now I'm working a little bit more on the Boris effects. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Nick did an update, came out on Tuesday or Wednesday. This week, actually, it was yesterday, for Color Effects Pro, not Color Effects Pro, but the whole Nick collection 4. I did a review on it. Check that out. You can see that my previous video there on YouTube, and also talking about the iPad. So there's some interesting things kind of coming right now with technology and different things like that too. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us on Live from Lockdown. I hope you guys are doing good. Make sure you stay safe out there. And we're officially ending this. So if you guys liked it, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button and you won't miss any of the videos. And if you guys got any questions, drop your questions into the comments, and maybe I'll answer 1 or 2 questions. For those of you who have got to go, see you guys later. So thanks for watching. Till next time, I'll see you at the cafe. All right, guys. So here we are, and Cheryl, let's do some shout outs here. Tracy, see you, Jerry. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Linda. Orca Pass, good to see you. Mark Hill, Russ, Jim, Stephen, David, Rolf, Donald. Says this the romper room time. Dave Holstock, good to see you again. Russ, of course, regular. Tracy's always here. David Moran, good to see you. Another regular. Chris Bacon, regular. Dojo, regular. Lots of regulars here. Regis, Susan, Anne, John Oswald, Photo Maker. Wow, Tom, all the regulars. Hannah, in the house. Alistair, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Ken, thank you. Louise, thanks for joining us. Nancy, Rolf, you're welcome. Stay safe, everybody. Janice, you got to go. In Scotland, wonderful. JD, thanks for joining us. Odd Gear, good to see you again. Philip and Stuart Braveway, kia ora. Good to see you again. And Colin, hello, everything at the Island of Reunion, and thank you for all the information and advice. Hey, thanks for coming by. We'll be back next week. Gigi, good to see you. What Wacom product am I currently using? I am using a Wacom Intuos Pro Medium tablet. So this is the medium size Wacom Intuos, and it has 8,192 levels of pen pressure. and it comes with the Pro Pen, which is great. So that's my favorite one. I love the Intuos Medium. Is kind of always been my favorite tablet of choice. So thanks for asking. Greg, you've got it. Paul, good to see you. Traveling to south of France next. Oh, good. Awesome. Can't wait to see the shots you get. Share some with us. Jason, can you do a video explaining all the panels and how they work? The panels in Photoshop? Or which panels, Jason? Or the panels in Lightroom? Let me know which panels, and we can consider that. Yes, Gigi, I just dropped a review of the new iPad Pro. You can see it there on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, go to Photoshopcafe. This morning I dropped a review on the new iPad Pro, which I don't have here. It's downstairs. And yeah, and yesterday I dropped a review on Nick. So we've got some fun stuff there. No Nicks on 2021. The new Nick 4 works on 2021. Yep. So yeah, check those out, guys. Thank you for showing split warp. Didn't know it was there. Should be fun and easy. Yeah, you can also right click to split the warp and do different things, or hold down the Alt option, and then you can split it right, up and down or side to side. So awesome. And explain on the PS panels. All right, there's something we can think about here. That's a good suggestion for something in the future. Thanks for that. Any more suggestions? Just drop them in there, guys. See you later, Stu. See you later, Tracy. And I think I'm out of here too, guys. So see you next week.